Welcome to Comic and Screen. I'm Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book. And we are looking forward to the Batman standalone film that we know is being worked on by Ben Affleck, directing it, starring in it, and co-writing it. We know that Geoff Johns is also working on the script with Ben Affleck. So what we want to do in this video is speculate or just give our thoughts on who we would like to see as the possible villain for that standalone movie, possibly called The Batman. So I'm going to start off here with a possibility. Again, these are just things that I think would be cool to see. We're not saying that we're predicting that this is what it's going to be, but we think this might be fun if we did see it. So the first idea is to see something along the lines of Hush. A childhood friend might allow them to explore, Bruce Wayne's younger side, younger years, a little bit of his backstory, and then that childhood friend ends up kind of turning and becoming a villain, which is the thing that happens a lot in comic books. But what would you think about that sort of idea or that take on things?
I would like it if they used Hush, if they did it in a way that incorporated flashbacks of Dick Grayson and things like that, maybe with the character, or Jason Todd, whoever Robin's supposed to be. Because that's still a major problem I have with kind of jumping ahead, where Batman is in his life, that they're missing out on that major character. So if they're going to do cool things and use the character of Hush and do flashbacks, then I'd like to somehow get involved with cool things from Batman's past as well. So, because, the Nolan films showed you that you can change things without it really affecting story, and making it better in some ways, because Bane is such a better character in the movies than he was ever in the comics, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you said, I think that's one of the strengths of using Hush would be to fill in that backstory, because we did jump ahead to Batman towards the end of his career. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a strength, to get some childhood stuff, but also get some stuff from Batman's past, and maybe it could be that sort of life journey or something that has led Batman to this point of having to take down Hush and having that conflict. I also think it's nice with Hush that he's lesser known. Like, comic book readers all know him, and we would recommend, for anybody interested, to read the Hush story by Jeph Loeb with art by Jim Lee. Mm-hmm. Comic book readers know that, but in the general audience, Hush has not been on, the old TV show, and he wasn't in a movie before, so that would be a kind of new, fresh take.
It'd be a cool visual for the movie as well, I think.
Yeah. All right, another possibility that we thought of, coming off of Suicide Squad, Jared Leto had a nice performance there, but he was a B kind of character. He wasn't the main character in the movie. So maybe we take Joker, maybe we sign Jared Leto on, and we have a Batman Joker movie for the new universe.
In my opinion, I would like to see them save Joker if they make 3 Batman movies for possibly the third one. I think, kind of like what I've mentioned before, I liked Leto's performance, but it was small. And I hope they really build it up to when they first meet, because people are still going to compare it to Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson. So I want to see him really be able to kind of do his own thing and possibly improve on what's been done. So I think the longer they wait with the Joker, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see it, and I'm really intrigued by this new Joker, but I agree that could maybe be the second Batman movie or third Batman movie if things are going that direction. Mm-hmm. If people are looking for some reading recommendations, Death in the Family by Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo would be good, especially because we had that Robin suit in Batman v Superman. Yeah. Another one would be Batman, the Man Who Laughs by Ed Brubaker. I think that one would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's
but
a good one too.
This new Joker is kind of inspired by the Joker book by Brian Azzarello. So a lot of things that people could read if they want to get some more Joker fix.
Totally.
All right, next up, possibly Black Mask. So this is an interesting one that could get into Gotham City and sort of maybe the crime stuff that's going on within Gotham. And this would also be a villain that's not as well known as a lot of the villains that people would list first off the top of their head. Black Mask might be a new one to add to that list, and you could have a cool take on it for this movie. And I would think of the Batman Battle for the Cowl graphic novel by Tony Daniel, which I think was like 5 or 6 years ago. That's one that people could check out to get to know Black Mask a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this one's really a lot more of a blank slate than the other characters, because they're not very well known, as you said. So I think that they're going to do that. They should really kind of push the organized crime element of it, and do something with the mask that could play with ideas of why he has to wear it, and could really connect it with something from Batman's past. It's got potential.
Yeah, and that could also be a way to bring in some past Robins, right? Because there's stories in the comics and stuff where there's some interactions between Black Mask and Jason Todd or Red Hood type stuff.
Right.
So, cool. Now, another possibility, and we've mentioned this before when we talked about our Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo run on Batman, but what if they took Court of Owls from the New 52 and actually made Court of Owls a villain, and they maybe had some Talons in there for the Batman film?
Yeah, this is a hard one for me because it's so that whole Scott Snyder run is like really near and dear to me. But really, this is the one that he'll be remembered for as his own creation, and how cool of an iconic villain and group of characters he created. So if they would do this, I almost think it's got more than one movie in it. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's a whole trilogy because that's a little crazy for characters no one's ever heard of, except for comics readers. So, but it's got a lot of potential. There's like that whole backstory element where you go to stuff from the Wayne family's past and really play around with it. So definitely it would work well as a movie. But kind of like a couple ones on this list, you wonder what they kind of are worried about using a character that's never been in a movie before because there's some sort of recognition and they don't want to kind of, strike out when they're expected to do a home run. But I think there's a lot of potential for this one, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the positives are, first of all, the source material is so good, and so they don't need to directly adapt it, and Ben Affleck has said he's not going to do a direct adaptation, but you can take some pretty good ideas from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo in their Court of Owls stuff and City of Owls. Another positive thing, like we said before, is Court of Owls is also a way to get some history, because you can go back and you can see some of Bruce Wayne's earlier times that we haven't seen yet in this universe, and you could see that, oh wow, the Court of Owls was actually pulling the strings, or they were involved back then, and it's a way to fill in some backstory. And then it has an awesome visual look, like those the owl masks can be some nice visual imagery for the film as well. So, yeah, and again, it would be, a new addition to the movie universe. It's not just rehashing something from the 66 TV show or from the past movies.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of good stuff there to look forward to. If people want to check it out, there's definitely the Scott Snyder stuff, but also Batman versus Robin, the animated movie. That's a sort of adaptation of Court of Owls, so that's a way to get a little taste of it as well.
Right.
All right, another possibility, and this is coming from some rumors that are going around. Birth Movies Death, that website reported it on this. I don't like to go to that website too much because they basically hate DC, but they do have some good sources sometimes, and they said that the plan for the Batman might be to have Batman inside Arkham Asylum, and he has to actually maybe fight his way or get his way out of there through multiple villains. So what would your thoughts be if there was kind of a set of, many villains instead of just one single villain?
Yeah, I've been thinking this since we've talked about it before. First of all, the Arkham games did it so well, so why not take something that works so well as a video game that was very cinematic anyways and make it like a movie? There's a lot of possibilities. I think it would work really well as kind of a movie. I always remembered this Bruce Lee movie, Game of Death, where he went through all these levels, and each level went crazier and crazier with people he was fighting. So if you had a storyline where Batman was somehow thrown into Arkham or locked in there, and he had to kind of fight his way up through these characters, ones that come to mind for me are like Mr. Freeze, because for each character you have different rooms and things. Batman would have to fight him in his element in some sort of crazy frozen room. Then you have Poison Ivy. Batman gets into her with all the plants and stuff like that. And you kind of have like a version of Arkham Asylum, the Grant Morrison graphic novel, that wasn't so crazy. A little more kind of has a cinematic Hollywood mentality to it, an action movie style. And then you could have Batman fighting Killer Croc. And even though we've already seen him in Suicide Squad, I think it'd be really easy to explain in the movie that he could kind of get juiced somehow in the movie, and he's a little bigger and a little crazier, and he's kept in like a chamber with water. Batman's got to fight his way through that. And then you could have Scarecrow, which is open to so much stuff, because he was used well in the Nolan films, but you could really go out there even farther. And then finally, I would end it with Hugo Strange, maybe the string puller of the whole thing, or have him being a guy that worked at Arkham. And to me, right there, I mean, that sounds like a pretty cool movie. It's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I would definitely go see that movie. And Hugo Strange and also Court of Owls, they're being represented on the show Gotham on Fox right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's a problem. Like, DC has shown, and Warner Brothers, more importantly, has shown that they're willing to develop something in the films even if they have appeared on TV. They try to protect some of that, like Suicide Squad. They tried to kind of take that off of Arrow when they were getting the movie ready. But they have Superman on Supergirl, and they have other things crossing over. The Flash is obviously, in both universes.
Exactly.
So I think, even though the Gotham TV show is doing that, that's only like 4 or 5 million people that are watching that. there's going to be 40 or 50 million people or more that are going to see the Batman movie. So
Exactly.
I wouldn't worry about Hugo Strange, for example. I think it'd be cool to see him in this movie, even if he is on Gotham.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the way that you describe it, I mean, that could be an awesome movie, and especially given the fight choreography that we've seen for Batman, and whatever that team is that's working with them is really good. And so to see him going through the stuff you were describing would be really exciting and good, I think. One thing I'm thinking about, though, is Ben Affleck said he wanted to have some of the detective elements
Of course.
embedded in this movie and have it almost be like an old film noir, detective private eye type story.
Right.
Which to me seems it might fit better with Court of Owls, where you're investigating the owls and what they all have their hands in, or maybe like Hush, where you have to find out that it's your friend that's behind all this, or Black Mask, where you have to like do detective work to find out how the mob is operating or whatever.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
for me, this Arkham one, which there's these rumors that this is what they're doing, is the Arkham one. To me, I'm not sure how they're going to fit the detective elements into it, but maybe they have a way that they're doing that.
I think, like, the problem is that, like, I'm going to say this till the cows come home. Until someone makes a better Batman movie than Christopher Nolan, that I'm always going to compare it. But if they want it to be different, they're kind of jumping ahead, and they've got this storyline already in place where Batman's older. So if you really don't want to compare it to these other movies, then play up the elements that they didn't show as much. And I think maybe that might mean we might get a lot more Bruce Wayne in our Batman movie than Batman, right? That could be something that they work on, and the detective element of him doing things during the day. It's got to be something really, like a villain that it's hard to outdo what we've already seen. So I really hope they come at it from a unique angle and come up with something really good.
All right, great. So lots of good thoughts. We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you have a villain that you'd like to see, or if you have a hunch or some sort of indication of what villain it is going to see, definitely share that in the comments. We'll be curious to hear that, and definitely looking forward to the movie. I'm really intrigued and definitely tuned into who this Batman is in the new universe. I can't wait to see more of him. And it looks like we're going to get quite a bit of Batman in the Justice League movie, but there's also something about a standalone Batman movie that just really works well. He's a character that really can carry his own movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. Looking forward to that as well.